topic today is uh, basically how to take back your life in a neurodivergent relationship. And I also put some links in the description over there that you can check out if you want to learn more about this subject and other subjects. We'll post this video to YouTube, not just here on Facebook. Um, I think this is an important topic, and I want to make sure that I've actually got some people here listening, but I might as well go ahead since we started at 1. Hopefully, um, people will get a notice pretty soon and start joining, because I can't really tell if you're here. Facebook does this a little bit differently these days. So the topic is take back your life. Don't you just want to scream when your friends or your therapist tells you to make time for self-care? Sounds good, doesn't it? But it feels impossible to find time for yourself within a neurodivergent relationship and family. With all the demands made on you and the chaos that unfolds if you don't step up, who will help you carve out a few moments for yourself? No one. Yet your survival, your resilience, and mental health depends upon you being healthy, strong, and able to meet the chaos with resilience. I'll get to it in a minute what I mean by chaos. You're welcome to ask me questions about that too. We'll talk about the importance of taking care of yourself and how to make that work within the challenges of a neurodivergent relationship. We're going to talk about what the stress of not taking care of yourself is doing to your health, and why self-care is even more important when you're living with a neurodivergent partner. I'm also going to talk about the power struggles within a neurodivergent relationship and the transactional demands of our neurodiverse loved ones. So it's not just that you should take care of yourself, okay? I mean, that's just true for everybody. It's that in a neurodivergent relationship, you have very unique demands made on you that are pulling you in a direction that really is counterproductive to self-care. Even if you attempt to do some self-care the way neurotypicals will do it, is not going to work. So we'll talk about that. Now, I want to double check and see if there's anybody here listening. Right now, it doesn't appear that there, oh yes, there are 5 viewers. Let me know if you can actually hear me. Just put a little note in the comment section that you can actually hear me. And if I need to repeat myself, I will. Now, one of the things I want to say is that the events that I'm going to talk about today are for members of 3 forums that are private. Today's Facebook Live is not private. It's for the public. Oh, good. Thanks, Cheryl, for letting me know you can hear. I appreciate that. It's not private. This is open to the public. So, but if you want to attend these events, you need to sign up for either the MeetUp group, the Advanced Community Forum, or the course, the online recorded course, to make sure that, and there's a forum in the course as well. Oh, Susan says slightly hear you. So I can turn up my volume. I can see if it's up as loud. Oh, no, it's up loud. Okay, and I can pull the computer a little bit closer. Sometimes that makes it easier to hear me. Okay, so I really want to talk a little bit about what the events are, but in just a minute. But I want you to also look at those links, and if you aren't a member of one of the communities, go and look at those and see if this would work for you. The course is terrific because that's where both you and your neurodiverse loved one, the neurotypical and the neurodiverse, can take the course together. It's online, it's recorded, and then you can go into the forum for the course, where you will meet other both neurodiverse and neurotypical couples and adults and family members to talk about what this lifestyle is about. Then the MeetUp group and the Advanced Community Forum are for neurotypicals only. The MeetUp group is a place to kind of get yourself started, talking to other neurotypicals about what's going on with you, and find out that you're not so alone, and how confusing it can be to work with these relationships. And then the Advanced Community Forum is where you're going to go and really kind of dive deeper into the subject. And the reason I say that is that at the Advanced Community Forum, I've got all of the recordings from our previous teleconferences, video conferences, and people can listen to those again and comment about that or ask questions of each other. And it's really where you start using your courage to understand better what's going on in your life. Um, in fact, for example, I was working with a couple this week, and I do this all the time, where I have to help people understand that if you're trying to resolve problems within your relationship, and you're in a neurodivergent relationship, you're not going to use the same tools that you would use in typical couples therapy because you're not on the same playing field. We've got a transactional person and we've got an interactional person. And interactional people try to, if we're looking at the title of this Facebook Live, Take Back Your Life, Take Care of Yourself, interactional people try to do that with their partner. They try to have a discussion with them. They talk about how we can do this for each other. The transactional person, on the other hand, is not somebody who's really used to trying to help you take back your life with you. You're going to have to do it on your own because the transactional person may want you to do that. They may be fine if you take back your life. They're just not going to help you with it. And we can talk about that. Go ahead and send a question if you want to about any of these things that I'm throwing out there. So let's kind of run through what the events are for the month. And then if I need to go back and repeat things for people who missed the beginning, that's just fine. Post a question for me. We've got both teleconferences and video conferences for people to attend, either for the neurotypicals or the neurotypical and the neurodiverse. I hope that we have that listed here. Let me double check to make sure. Yep, we do. Okay. So the first one that's going to show up in July, on July 10th, is the teleconference. This is an unlimited group of people that can dial in. It's not a video call, and it's recorded and stored at the Advanced Community Forum. And that's the topic is Take Back Your Life. Are you pulled in 10 different directions? So I think that people in these relationships do feel pulled in 10 different directions. So it's a matter of how do we kind of quell that codependency so that we can take a break, so that we can be kinder to ourselves. That makes sense, I hope. And then, and as many people as want to can sign up for the teleconference, either if you're in the MeetUp group or the Advanced Community Forum, you can sign up for that. Then the next event is a video conference, and that's a small group, and I offer video conferences usually twice. I record one of them, and we record only the audio, not the video, so you can have privacy. It's just an audio recording, and it's stored only on the membership site so that only members can hear and think about what just happened in that event. I offer it twice so that we can get as many time zones as possible. I offer this one is going to be at 4 o'clock one day, July 10th, and at 4 p.m., 9 a.m., July 12th, a couple days later. So that usually captures most of the time zones around the world. But if you're not in a time zone that's convenient or it's the middle of the night for you, you can go back in and listen to the recording and then comment on that recording, because there's a place for discussions on recordings as well. So this first video conference of July is Sick, Tired, and All Alone. So if you're going to take back your life, it's not so easy when you're not well. And many people in neurodivergent relationships are not physically well. The stress, the chaos of being pulled in 10 different directions is fatiguing, and you don't really, because it's hard to know exactly what's going on in these relationships, that what happens is that the stress chemicals mount, and you get migraines and digestive problems and arthritis, and it triggers the weak parts of your system that maybe you haven't been taking care of. You haven't been eating, you haven't been exercising. So how do you take care of yourself when you're sick, tired, and all alone? That's what the first video conference is about. The second video conference for our members the topic is self-care a luxury in neurodivergent relationships? And that will be offered on July 18th and 19th again at the 4 o'clock and the 9 o'clock time to allow you to come in at whatever time zone it works for you. So is it a luxury? A lot of times it feels that way because we're pulled in so many different directions. Making a time for yourself feels like impossible because then you don't get dinner. Then there's nobody to take a child to an event, or your parents are not, you're not taking care of some things for your elderly parents, or whatever it happens to be. And it is true that there's only so much time in the day for you to do everything that you need to do. But if you don't take time for yourself, then you fall apart and everybody else will suffer. So it's not a luxury. You really do have to make time for it. But that means you might have to not mow the lawn, or you might have to pick up a shirt that you wore yesterday and wear it again because it's just too hard to try to take care of everything. Right. Susan's making a comment here, and we're going to come back to that comment. Susan, thank you. She says, I'm finding that I currently go into depression. I always have anxiety. Right. That's a result of the constant chaos and not taking time for yourself. Going for a bike ride, going for a walk, going someplace quiet, even a coffee shop, and just reading for a while, reading a book that you wanted to read without all the chaos around you. Okay. The third video conference of the month is, the title is No More Power Struggles for Neurodivergent Couples. Now, I've offered this one, the No More Power Struggles video conference before, because it is a common problem. How do you stay out of the win-lose debate that happens with transactional people? Now remember, your transactional loved ones, your neurodiverse loved ones, tend to use that transactional style because they are sorting for an answer to the problem as opposed to connecting with you first. Neurotypicals connect first, sort for solutions second. Transactional people go for the solution and first without connecting with you. And what happens is that when you try to dismiss that approach, the transactional person feels as if you're pushing them away. They get angry. They want to prove that they know what they're talking about, or that they're right. So we have to work on how to deal with power struggles better so that we're not pushing anybody away, whether it's pushing the neurodiverse person away or pushing the neurotypical away. We need to understand the different way people sort for information. Then another event that everybody should pay attention to is our new member orientation. It's a free video call for anybody who's a new member or anybody who's a member, period, of MeetUp or the Advanced Community Forum. You can join the ambassador call that Julie offers. And this one will be on July 20th at 3. Oh, by the way, these times are Pacific time, but when you pull them up on your computer in the membership, it automatically translates it to your time zone. So what Julie does is she sits down on a video call with a large group of people or a small group, whoever shows up. You don't have to be a brand new member. If you're just kind of confused about how to navigate all the services that we offer, you can go. Or if something new has popped up and you want to, get some feedback about how to deal with something from, not just from Julie, but from other members who live this life, please join the free video call. And most people find it incredibly inspiring, not just helpful. It's like, wow, I came away feeling like I took some time for myself, right? That's important. And I can talk some more about these things in a minute too. Then the last event that's coming up in July is the course webinar. So those people who are taking the online course also have the opportunity to have a private conference that's recorded also and stored for them on the course forum. And the course is Asperger's Syndrome and Relationships. And this title, the title of the course webinar is Why is My Partner So Angry with Me? That'll be July 26th at 4. So this is the one webinar where, of all of these that I've mentioned, that is for both neurotypical and neurodiverse. So we get to hear from other people that do it very differently, so that it can clear up some of our own misunderstandings. And I have to tell you that everybody who attends the webinar for the course and then goes into the course forum, they're always really impressed by how open everybody is about what's going on with them, and also learning from the neurotypicals are learning from other neurodiverse people. This is not their spouse, this is somebody else's partner that they're learning from, and vice versa. Many times, people on the spectrum will ask questions in our webinar, and the neurotypicals are realizing, oh, they want to know something I want to know. Because it can be real easy for us to say that other person is not listening to me or isn't concerned about what's going on with me and why it's so hard to take back my life. But everybody's concerned about this. Neurodiverse people want to take back their lives too. Okay, and I also put a link on the write-up today where you could go in and leave a question. You can certainly leave a question on Facebook, but if you want me to address one of your concerns and you want me to bring it up on the Facebook Live or in one of our forums or video conferences or teleconferences, there's a place for you to send in a question. I collect them during the month and usually respond to them in one of these forums, whether it's Facebook Live or Dr. Kathy's office hours. One of these forums, I'll go in and I'll answer the question. I don't see a lot of questions popping into the comment section right now, so I want to remind you, you can do that. Okay, if you just joined me, there's quite a few people who just joined. Please put a question in there for me so that I can answer it for you. And there was one that came up, and that was posted on Facebook for me, and I thought I would start with that one, which is the question from a neurotypical saying, why does my neurodiverse partner always have to be right? Why do they argue with me? Why do they always have to be right? And remember, by neurodiverse, I mean someone on the autism spectrum, and neurotypical is somebody who is not on the autism spectrum and has the full range of empathy, the empathy triad, the empathy skills to have a conversation interactionally. So why they have to always be right? Well, of course, they don't always have to be right, but what they're pressing for, what neurodiverse people are pressing for, is for you to hear their answer. And so they think that you want their answer, and you might just want to open a conversation. Now, they may also believe that their answer is the right one, but most people, neurodiverse or neurotypical, realize that there's more than one right answer. So what you could say is, I hear your answer. I hear what you're trying to tell me. Thank you for giving me an option, but I'd like to explore other options. Okay, so you can let them know that you're right. It's a perfectly good answer you're giving me, but I want to explore other options. Or you might say something like, I want to explain something different than what we're talking about. The answer you've given me works for a piece of what I'm talking about, but it's bigger. Now, it's still not, then there's this other level that this person is talking about, because sometimes we get into these power struggles. It's not just that the neurodiverse transactional person wants you to get their answer. Maybe because we've been annoyed with them going down a path that isn't where we're going, and we're frustrated about it. So they'll pick up that energy and they'll want to fight us over, you're not listening to me. And the thing is, we're not listening when we're upset. We can stop and we can say, I did hear you. That's a pretty good answer. for this one little piece, or I appreciate knowing how you would handle this, but of course I have the right to choose how I want to handle it. So if we're respectful of the other person's giving us an answer we don't really need, that respect comes through and makes them feel better. I hope that makes sense. And please let me know if there's something I'm saying that you have a question about. And then another question that somebody sent in, I think is really, really, really important. It's the, when the situation gets so stressful that the behavior drops to, good grief, I'm going to turn that off again. We see this with children, for example, when they're trying to problem solve, but they start getting really tired or cranky and they throw a tantrum and then they get mean. They throw things, they hit. The teenager gets passive aggressive and says something they shouldn't say, right? So as a parent, we might say, I'd like you to go to your room and think about what you're doing right now. Don't say anymore. We're done. It's hard to say that to an adult, but in a way, it's the same thing. So when the behavior turns, vengeful, that's abuse. And we don't have to stay with that. I think it's really important to say, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you have to be able to say, you have to be able to stick to that. We don't like that. We want to fix it. But you have to have another person working with you to fix it. If you just keep throwing out an attempt to fix something and the other person just keeps slapping you, figuratively or literally, you've got to leave that abusive situation. That's the only thing that'll work. I hope that makes sense to you. We don't like doing that. We're kind of nervous about doing that. But if one person or the other or both people dip into that primitive, vindictive behavior, it's not okay. Hi, Marilyn. Yeah, she says, my cortisol is through the roof. I'm tired of having to address the rudeness. Right. This is exactly what happens. She's talking about chemicals. We're assaulted by this verbally challenging, have to be right, or vindictive behavior, and so that makes you so sick that your brain is rushed by those chemicals, your heart muscle is rushed by those chemicals, your adrenal glands start to shut down because they're pumping so hard to protect you. This is not how you take back your life. You take back your life by saying no to abuse of any kind, even if you made the mistake. Isn't that interesting? Even if you stepped on somebody's toes and the other person decides to just ream you out, that's abuse. You'd say, no, I'm done. We'll talk about this another time. And you grab your bag and you get in your car and you leave, or you go for a walk or whatever it is, but you don't allow yourself to experience that abuse. And then you've got to take lots of deep breaths, or go for a bike ride, or go to the gym, drink lots of water to wash those stress chemicals, get a massage. You got to wash that stuff out of your system, because otherwise you will just get sick. So I tell people a lot that, my life living with a parent on the spectrum, a spouse on the spectrum, and adopting our oldest child on the spectrum, what happened to this neurotypical is I just got so sick that it felt like my skin was on fire. And I was falling downstairs, and I was backing my car into utility boxes. I was just unbalanced because I was so, I hadn't taken back my life. I was going in 10 different directions. So it's not okay to do that, and you're not helping anybody by making yourself sick. So Katie says, is it possible to not just survive a relationship with an autistic partner, but thrive, to be truly happy in relationship with them? I have ADHD and my endless creativity has been nice for coming up with new systems for chore delegation and accommodations. Let's see here, for my partner, but I'm still exhausted. Will my partner ever pick up the slack and care for me a little on a day-to-day basis consistently like he used to when he was masking? Or will we always have parentification aspect of our relationship with me as the parent? Sorry for the long-winded question, she says. But, you said it. Of course, everybody's on the call today is wondering that same thing. Is it possible to do more than just survive? Can we do more than survive? Absolutely. That's the goal. But we have to start with saying no to abuse. We have to make ourselves the goal. Our health and wellness and happiness has to be the goal. Because neurotypicals are interactional people, because we know ourselves in relation to others, what happens is that we keep throwing out a prompt to work things out with us. If that other person can't do that, or they don't do it very smoothly, it can deteriorate. So if we're going to answer this question, can you thrive? Yes. But like I said with this couple this week, I said you two are on different playing fields. We're not on the same page because one person is transactional and context blind, empathy blind, and the other person is interactional, empathy sensitive, and context sensitive. So what the interactional person is doing is always reaching out for the other person to work with them, and if the other person doesn't work with you, then you become abused. The transactional person thinks the answer is something that is just some small in the moment immediate answer. They're willing to go to other answers, but they start with this answer, and then they go to that answer, and they go to that answer, and it's not interactional. It's just in their own self-absorbed way coming up with what they think is a workable solution. So in order to thrive, back to this good question, we have to be willing to take time for ourselves and say no to abuse. We have to be willing to say, I'm really valuable enough to take that time. We have to be willing to give the other person the grace that they need to figure things out, but not to blow the relationship apart in terms of figuring it out. I'm willing to give you time to relax and think about what you're saying to me, but I'm not going to stay here and let you abuse me. And that's all we can do, because if they won't let you, if they won't let you take a break because they're so distressed, if they need you so much to take care of them, then they're never going to learn how to take back their lives either, right? So thrive kind of depends on your definition of thrive, doesn't it, Katie? It won't be the kind of relationship you have with another neurotypical. That's true. But neurodiverse folks want to be loved and understood too. So I use that need to be understood, to be appreciated, to be loved. I use that to help them slow down, take notes, and learn to manage their abusive language and behavior, because that's really unkind and not loving. But neurotypicals need to learn how to slow down too, because if you keep expecting your neurodiverse partners to understand you, you know what I mean? If you expect them to move as quickly as you move, they're not going to be able to do that. That's too hard. They just get one piece, one little tiny piece at a time. I had this young woman, she's neurodiverse, and she was trying to explain why she couldn't work. And she was trying to explain this to her father. She's not so young anymore. She's actually 30. She wanted to explain why to the social worker that she couldn't work. And the thing is, I think she can work. She's just a smart girl. She can figure this out. But the problem is, what she wasn't able to say is that when I think about getting a job, I become so anxious that my brain feels like it's on fire. Right? She needs some tools for managing that incredible anxiety so that she can follow up with a job application or finish a course of study. You know, how many of you have got people on the spectrum who are able to go to college but can't take that college degree and turn it into a job? Sometimes they're pretty good at school, but they're not good at going back out into the world. So she could not explain that her level of anxiety was 100 times what most people feel. And then she also believed that because I have that anxiety, I have to just hold myself away and hide away. So, so basically back to, can we thrive? We can't thrive if we don't have somebody, both people in therapy, learning how to, cross over the great divide here between neurotypical and neurodiverse folks. So let me look and see if there's anybody else got a comment there. So, Cheryl, yeah, she says, my husband has many mental health issues besides ASD. I'm often afraid to tell him my struggles. I always have some degree of anxiety whenever I'm around him. Is it wise to tell him I have anxiety because of a relationship? Would it only make him feel more shame, blame on himself? So here's the problem. We keep walking on eggshells around our partners because we don't want them to be upset, or because they may blow up and then it would be terrible. If you can't move forward and problem solve with your partner, then it's impossible. Right? It's never gonna get fixed. So yes, I would bring things up, but I would also say, I've got a therapist for us to see, or I'm taking a class, I want you to take it with me, because I really feel like we need to talk about these things. Otherwise, we can't get to the bottom of them. You still make that interactional approach with a transactional person. But what she's saying is really important. Would it only make him feel more shame, blame himself, right? It might. It sadly, the person might feel blamed because you're saying, because of some of the problems you have and some of the problems I have, we aren't able to work things out. That seems like a reasonable approach, but to somebody who's really, really down on themselves, they just hear that I've failed again. But don't hold back. Tell them, well, we've got an appointment tomorrow morning at 10, and I want you to go with me. And we're going to keep talking about it. And you got to trust that the therapist is going to be kind enough to work at the pace your partner can work. It's not easy, but that's their job, is to try to bring both of you onto the same playing field. But if you keep does it make sense if we keep treating the neurodiverse person as if they're so handicapped they can't take any responsibility for themselves? They never will. Right? And then you'll be stretched too far. So then, Ellen, you said your explanation about how to let the ASD person know you heard them is useful. With my NT friends and colleagues, I've been taught to paraphrase to let them know I've heard. This sure backfires with an ASD. Right. Paraphrasing doesn't work, sadly, with someone who's on the spectrum. If you think about it, paraphrasing is an interactive tool. We paraphrase because us neurotypicals will paraphrase as a way of inviting the other person into a discussion. The person on the spectrum is wondering why you're challenging them. Why are you bringing that up again? Didn't I just say that? They think you're challenging them, or that you're disagreeing with it. And really what we're trying to do is, get us both on the same page. So I literally tell my neurodiverse clients that we're not on the same page and I need to help them get on the same page. Now, they'll be upset with me. They'll think, oh, well, you're criticizing me. You're saying I'm not on the same page. But I say, but, it just is reality. We're not on the same page, so let's work on that. So I want you to really hear this. I had this one neurodiverse man talk to me about paraphrasing. He said he learned all kinds of tools in his couples therapy with his spouse, and none of the tools worked. And I said, well, they're very good tools for communicating, but in general, but what tool in particular did you find not very helpful? And he said, paraphrasing. He said, why would you repeat back to somebody what they just said? See, he didn't understand that the reason we repeat it back is to let the other person know I heard you. I'm with you. I'm respecting you. I'm trying to step into your world and understand where you're coming from. We're not repeating word for word just for no reason. We're sending another message. They don't know that. They don't understand that. So I wouldn't do it. I'd just say we're not on the same page, or I would say, thank you for that comment. Thank you for that bit of information. I can probably use that. There's more I'm trying to talk about. Do you want to hear the rest of it? You get transactional. And then I think they can track it. Yeah, that's a good comment, Ellen. Thank you. Now remember, if you're watching this later and you didn't get a chance to leave me a question, it's fine. You can go onto Facebook and leave me a question, or you can click on one of the links and give a question for Dr. Kathy's office hours, or you can, if you're a member of one of our forums, you can go into the forum and talk about this subject. And one of the cool things about going to the forum is that it's not just me. There's other people who are living this life, and you can talk to them and get answers about things that they've done that have worked for them, right? I also gave you a link to some of my books. I've written 5 books about neurodivergent relationships, parenting in these situations, and again, how to take back your life, just what empathy is. And I think it's really helpful to read these books. And by the way, neurodiverse people read my books and it makes sense to them, okay? Because they have a chance to go back and read a chapter again and again and start thinking through what's really going on. In fact, many of them write to me and say, as a result of reading your books, I understand my neurotypical better. And that doesn't mean it always translates into better behavior, but I think understanding is a beginning. So let's see, did I get to all the questions that people sent in? I want to make sure I did that. Oh, I was going to tell you